Hello, everybody. So jump right into it. All right. Well, so much for going in the shop. It's just I lost it. Are you back? Everyone back? So we're gonna go over shop update, shop plans, the vet build finish time. Are we? What's happening? Oh, there we go. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. We're back. I tried to go in the shop. My plan was to show you in the shop and explain all my plans on all the updates, but we'll just have to do it without the visualization of the shop. We can do it with the shop in the background. You can see it. So basically, what we're going to go over today in this live stream, why I want to do a live stream, big shop update, big things happening this week. So that's really exciting. Thing two, vet. When we're going to finish the vet, are we going to take it to round two? All of that stuff. Thing three, Miata one-man shop. Hey, I know the feeling. Miata stuff, battling, general drift stuff. Just got a lot of things I want to talk about. You guys know me. You know I'm a talker. So you see the shop. So let's start this off. Well, wait for. I always do it at the beginning. And always people are like, well, what happened? What's the deal with the shop? So originally, the last time we did a live stream, the plan was we were going to get the electrical done first. And then from the electrical, we would do the spray foam. From the spray foam, we would then drywall it. So that was kind of the plan of operations. Now, that was difficult because we were going to have to basically, the electrical is the one thing that needs a permit. So we're going to have to wait for the permit, get the electrical done, get the permit finalized, and then I'm going to go inside. 144p looking stream. It looks fine on my phone. All right, we should be on the Wi-Fi in here. If it doesn't get any better, let me know. I'll go in the office. I got the AC blasting. We'll do some Q&A things too. So, black holes for shops are black holes for any types of reception. Yeah, exactly. I tried. So that was the original plan. So the problem with that was obviously we were going to have to wait for the permit, then do the electrical, then wait for that permit to be finalized, then do the spray foam, then do the drywall. So that was going to take a lot of time. So people mentioned in the last live stream made a good point. We could do the electrical last over top of the drywall, and that way if we wanted to add anything later, then it would be easier and wouldn't look weird. We wouldn't have, recessed outlets and outlets on top. So anyway, I decided that was a good plan because that meant we could do all the other stuff first and then hopefully have it done by the time we get the electrical permit, bada bing, bada boom, right? So that was the plan. Obviously, I don't know if you can see, but none of that has been done yet, but it is about to be. So we should have the electrical permit. It was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago, but maybe soon. I had to sign like one more thing. So I know my electrical guy really well. He's done work for Adam and Cletus and stuff. Like he's a really good, really cool guy. It's always nice to have someone like that to do work like that, just because you can trust them. They're gonna tell you you can run the electric and not terminate it before the permit. Is really? Well, anyway, he should be able to knock it out quick. We're basically going to do the base electrical, get the permit finalized because we got to run new power from the house, new box, and do all the main stuff, the lights, things like that. And then we'll probably add some stuff later, but just do it basic so it doesn't look so wild because I'm going to want a bunch of 240 volt outlets and all that stuff. But moral of the story is the plan was to do that stuff. Do the electrical permit. Hopefully, let's say we get it next week. I'm not going to keep my hopes up. Let's say it's 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. Hopefully, we should be doing the electrical because this weekend or the end of this week, it is getting spray foamed. So I drug my feet on the whole spray foam situation. How come you run electrical but not me? What? I drug my feet on the spray foam situation because it was definitely more expensive than I thought. And I was like, and I knew I was going to do it eventually. I was like, why am I dragging my feet on that? You can't cover up wiring prior to inspection. I know. So the spray foam is first, and then the electrical goes on top of the spray foam. So we're going to do the electrical. I'm getting there. So basically, with the spray foam, we're going to do 3-inch thick spray foam. So it's going to basically fill the entire wall cavity. So it'll be like a flush wall. And we're gonna do, there's like a fireproof paint. It can burn for like 10 minutes or something. before it burns the spray foam, and it gives it like a real finish, like a finish you can clean. So instead of doing drywall, because I searched high and low and could not find anyone who wanted to drywall the shop, because the problem with drywall in the shop is it's not like a house where you've got, studs 16 inches on center, 24 inches on center. You have stuff to attach to. Basically, you would have to build a whole framework and then attach the drywall to it. It's not just putting the drywall up, which is something I didn't think about. So that makes it a lot more involved of a process. So I decided, okay, spend the extra money on going to 3-inch thick spray foam. That'll make the walls nice and flush. It should lay down pretty clean because it's closed cell. Do the paint on it. We're gonna do white on the walls and gray on the roof like I wanted to. And then, so basically saves us doing the drywall, which means as soon as the spray foam's done this weekend, in theory, it's supposed to happen Thursday, Friday, then we're ready for the electrical. And it's just like, do we get the permit? If we get the permit, he said he's kind of, leaving me some open space to make sure that he can get on it as soon as we get the permit, because we've been waiting a while. Possibly could be done with the whole ordeal, like shop ready to move back in like 2-3 weeks. I don't want to be that optimistic. I really don't. But let's say a month, because we got to get the permit and all that. Insulation for ceiling. It's hard to read all these comments. Metal buildings are different in a different state, are totally different. Yeah, so I would install the wiring prior to the insulation, but we're gonna run the conduit on top of the metal, like the, whatever you would call it, the uprights. We're gonna run it like on the exterior. Spray foam, I know it's not gonna be perfectly even, but the closed cell, I've seen pictures of their work and it's pretty good. And my thing was I really wanted to drywall it for this nice, clean aesthetic, but at the end of the day, there's going to be so much stuff on the walls anyway. There's going to be banners, there's going to be shelves, there's as long as it's, white and not yellow, that's the one thing I couldn't deal with. I think it'll look okay, I really wanted to drywall it, but at the end of the day, it's a shop, as long as it doesn't look like super raggedy or it's not just metal beams, I just want it to look somewhat finished. If you don't put up walls in the shop, you'll be able to screw into the insulation and won't be able to hang things. Well, I'm going to put up pegboard. I've got solutions for this. I'm not going to hang that much stuff on the walls, but if I need to, I can just, it's just going to go to the metal beams. That's it. It's ridiculous. You have to ask what to build on your property. I know. You don't realize about the whole permit thing until you own a house and you're like, I can't just build something on my property. I thought this was my property, but no, not really. Livery on the C6 has been, either one person's asked the question a bunch, or there's been a bunch of questions. I don't know yet. I don't know. It's like, I don't necessarily have to, so I almost don't want to. Will the shop be on its own meter? No, we're just going to run 100 amp service off the house because it's generally just me, at most me and Josue. So we can't use that many things at once anyway. The biggest thing is going to be we are going to AC it, which I've got that all figured out. If let's say the AC was running the lights, the air compressor, you couldn't really do any more than that. You couldn't be doing live project on the C6. It just takes too long. And I can't, I got to be in my zone when I'm working, I got to be I don't know. I get in my zone. When I'm doing fab projects, I just get in the groove and just go. That's what the hard thing about filming, because I've got to move the camera around and follow me, and it would be crazy if I could somehow do a week of projects on the car without filming it, because I feel like it would get so much done so fast if I didn't have to film it. But yeah, what was I getting? Where were we at? Livery on the Vette. I don't know. I want to, because I've never done a livery on anything. But on the other hand, it's it's cool to not have a livery when every car there has a livery. I have people that sponsor me parts and stuff, and I work with Nitto, and I can run their stickers, but I'm not under any obligation to run anyone's stickers, which doesn't mean I want to rep them and support them, but it's I could run them on the back glass or something, and keep the car clean. it's cool when you see so many cars with these crazy liveries and all these names on them, and then you see a car with just clean paint, or whatever, one color. But at the same time, I feel like the livery cars look more race car. My 80 by 120 Fab Shop, there's spray foam with fireproof paint. It looks great and takes a long time to get dirty enough. You want to clean it. You're going to love it. Sweet. Thanks for the info, Derek. That's what I'm hoping. I'm just hoping just want it to look okay. Like it's a shop. I got to get over this. Like drywall, what if there's a mess or something and it soaks into the drywall and yada yada. Worst case, I can hang up plywood. I just didn't want to do plywood on all the walls because it's not going to look clean. But doing drywall is going to be, you got to mud it in and go around all the things. I think the spray foam is going to work, hopefully, and look decent. And ideally, it should be real well insulated. 3 inches of closed cell spray foam is like R21 rating, so should be pretty good. Going to get 2 36,000 BTU mini splits, so going a little overkill, but man, I got spoiled by the AC in here. And I learned having the AC in here, which is just a 12,000 BTU window unit there. Matt Huffman, wow, thank you. Basically, it's more than just being comfortable. With filming, it makes things way easier because, normally you got light blasting in at different times of the day, and it's like, if it's the time of the day where the light's blasting in, I can't film this way. I have to film this way because otherwise the camera, you just can't see anything. It's just like all dark and overexposed. So it makes it way easier to be able to have the door shut and have the lights on and have even lighting everywhere. And I don't know, it's nice to just kind of have some privacy. Someone asked how I like the new truck. We'll get into that later. I literally have notes here, but I want to cover so we don't get too sidetracked going back and forth in all these different directions. So that's the plan with the shop. Spray foam. This coming weekend in a couple days, which is going to be sick. I can't wait to get that done because to do that, which is what I was trying to show you guys in the shop earlier, I've got a lot of stuff to move. I've tried not to pack much in there because I knew it was all going to have to come out. But, inevitably, it's got some stuff in there. I really want to epoxy the floors. And I know if I don't do it before I move in, I won't do it. But it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff and a lot of money. Like, it's a big project. Like, it's hard to realize how much it's going to be. I thought the spray foam stuff was cheap. I was like, oh, this isn't going to be bad at all. I was like, oh, wow, that's more than I thought. But anyway, I don't know. I got to figure that out. I just thought about that, epoxying the floors. But basically, once the spray foam's done, we can move some stuff back in. We're going to have to play musical cars for a couple days, store some stuff at some places, and it's not going to be super easy. But we'll deal with it. So, yeah, what else? So, spray foam, electric, drywall, AC. We're going to AC it, like I said. That's going to be really nice. So, Corvette build time. A lot of questions on that. When's the vet going to be done? What's the deadline? What's the timeline? Are you going to make it to round 2? I plan to make it to round 2. That's the goal. But I'm not even going to bother showing up if I don't have time to test the car. If I don't have time to test the car, there's literally no point. It's completely a waste of time, because in comp, you get like a run every 30 minutes, so you might get 4 runs, 5, maybe 6 or 7 runs in a 2-hour practice. So it is just not the place to be figuring out an issue because even if I'm hot and sweaty and I want to water, if I still got tires on the car, I'm going to stay in line because I need to be in line as long as I can to get every single lap I possibly can. So, learning a new car and working out bugs, if you got to go back to the pits every lap to check stuff over, and that's just not going to be ideal. That would not be ideal. So, and I feel like I'd be more competitive in the Miata than this car having never driven it, so that's really my biggest thing is I want to make sure I have the cool shirt still. I forgot to put it on in the last event in the Miata, or it had an issue. The relay went bad, which is weird because Benz did the same thing. It started bugging out and he hardwired it to the battery and it worked. I did the same thing, went out with the shirt on, but it must have just leaked a little bit over time, so it wasn't bled. So it was cooling down, but it wasn't doing anything in the shirt. So then I bled it, but then by that time it was like practice was over. But that was one of those situations where I'm like, man, I'd really love to go put the cool shirt on. It's super hot in here, but I didn't want to go waste 10 minutes in the pits and lose another lap. What are you doing with the aluminum chassis? I may have a taker on it. We'll see. But I got to do something with it like this week, so we'll see on that. What size tire are you going to run on the C6? So I'm going to be running like the scrub FD tires. So I was originally planning on running like a 275, 285, but it's easier for me to get the scrub since I work with Nitto in the 315. So I'm curious how it's a lot of tire, but I mean the benefit to having a lot of tire is you can run it at a higher pressure. You're not so reliant on lowering the pressure so much to get the grip, and you don't end up, the tires last a bit longer like that. Steffi, is there a reason you didn't go with a semi-log manifold for more engine bay room? I did think about it, but I couldn't find any that were going to work under the alternator, and I thought about building one myself, but I've always wanted to build headers, and one of those things. You don't realize how much distance it takes to get bends on a header until you start doing them, and I was already committed at that point. Plus, it was fun. It looks cool. I mean, it's a balance, you know. I don't want to worry about it looking cool and all of that stuff, but I also want it to look cool, you know. Like for me, building cars, the fab work is what keeps me going. Like that's the most fun thing for me, and that's why like every build's more extreme on the fab work side. People are like, you didn't need to do that. You could have just done a front mount. I'm like, I know. I totally could have. That's fine, but I just wanted to do this. I wanted to do a V mount. Someone asked what it's like working in the two-car garage again. It's honestly totally fine. Like, doesn't bother me a bit. The only struggle, the biggest struggle is just switching projects. Like, let's say I'm waiting for a part for this, or I need to order something. I'm like I wanted to order the donuts instead of using pie cuts for tight radius bends, but it was going to take a couple days to get them. So it's like, if it's only a couple days, I don't want to go through the trouble to make this a roller. Take it off the quick jacks, push it all the way out near the street, then get the Safiro or whatever, push it all the way in here, then push that back into the shop. It's an ordeal to switch cars. So whenever I put a car in here, I need to be committed to working on it for a period of time. I can't just work on it for like 5 minutes, you know, for 2 days or something. So that really is probably the biggest struggle. That'll be the nicest thing about the new shop, having 2 lifts, 2 bays, being able to, like, let's say we need to prep the Miata for the event. Instead of having to move whatever we're working on out, just throw the Miata on the other lift, prep it, still have the other car over there. So that's really the biggest struggle. And then storage, you know, like even with the container, you know, again, I'm trying not to put too much stuff in the shop because it's all got to come out. So it's like, if I bank on having that room and then I got to put it somewhere, I'm not going to have anywhere to put it. Like, it's already tight, but I think I can kind of cram everything in the garage for a couple days. But storage is the biggest thing, you know, because I drag my feet on ordering parts because I just don't have anywhere to put them, you know. And I cleaned off these shelves. I took like a ton of time, sorted through everything, made totes of parts that I'm not going to use on the car, all this stuff. And it's like to get stuff off the top of the totes, and now it's got stuff all on top of the totes again. It's just part of it. You try to keep the stuff near you, and then like, yeah, it's just stuff, a lot of stuff, especially on a build this detailed. And it was really bad when we were doing the truck and then the Safiro in between this build, because it was like just so many different builds worth of parts, and each build needs a lot of parts. So it's like, yeah, that was tough to keep track of and keep organized. Someone asked when the C6 will be done, move under its own power. It's so tough to say, man. Everyone can tell you when they think their car is going to be done. I can tell myself when I think it's going to be done and be totally wrong, you know. It's so basically what's left, right? So you'll see in like the next vet video, I've built the downpipe. It's a little shorter than I wanted it to be where I had to V-band it, but I've got to build the rest of the exhaust. I want to at least get the rest past the transmission, because that'll be where the next V-band is. So we'll have a V-band towards the back of the engine we can get to from the bottom, V-band behind the trans. We can drop that out, that section of exhaust, and then we're free and clear to pull the bell housing off, the trans off, clutch off, whatever. 2 V-bands. That's the goal. So I need to get at least that done. I'd like to finish it out the back, but if the shop's going to be ready soon, you know, which really just relies on the electrical permit, you know, I would much rather wait until we move back into the shop and like do it on the lift, because that's probably the one thing that I really miss having the lift for, is trying to do exhaust under the car, because normally I like to tape it in place, support it, make sure it's good, tack it in the car. Whereas doing it here, I mean, you can tack it in the car, but it's really difficult. You're like laying on your back, like leg out, trying to do the foot pedal. But yeah, so finish the half the exhaust. Do the cold side. So we got to go from the turbo to the intercooler, and the intercooler to the throttle body, which that part, I'll give you guys a look here. That part's a piece of cake, because I mean, it's real close to lining up this old pipe. So I'm probably going to chop it about here, give it a little more angle, and we should be able to get into that throttle body. But here's the down pipe. No pie cuts. You guys happy? No pie cuts. So I was waiting on some more material, and all that came in. So we got 45s, we got straights. Should have enough to do the rest of it. So yeah, that's really the main thing. Past that, there's not really any fab-ish projects. Like really, all we have is we got to build like a fan shroud. I'm gonna do like one of the ones that are like a pyramid, that allow it to pull more air from more surface area. So we need to do that. But other than that, really, it's just the rest of the turbo kit. And then from there, it's lines and fittings, which we kind of went through, roadmap the car out in person with the fittings in hand, because I drew a diagram. But, you know, some stuff you're like, oh, a 45 will work there. And then you put it there and you're like, that's not going to work. And then you need a 90 or 120. And it's hard to know for sure until you literally have the fittings and you put them on. So now that we have the fittings, those are in place. We've been mapping that out, and it looks like we have pretty much everything we need. So lines and fittings, got to mount the Dominator, mount the Race Pack Smart wire in both. I have a pre-made engine harness for the Dominator. So wiring really shouldn't be that bad. It's just kind of the main stuff, like the powers to the engine harness, the fans, the fuel pumps, which there's a lot of those. We have this Deechworks surge tank setup they made that goes inside the fuel cell. It's super cool setup. So we're gonna have 4 fuel pumps. Wanted to make sure we had enough fuel. If worst case of anything, we'll just not run one of them and have it as like a backup, but we might need all of it. We're running 10 AN fuel lines, like it's spicy, man. We start getting up in power and running E, like it's crazy how fast things escalate. You know, you can make like 400, 450 on a single 400 liter per hour Deechworks pump, but you go up to like 600, now you need 2, you go up to 800, now you need 3, you know, it escalates so quick. And man, if you don't have enough fuel, that will bite you faster than anything else. If you do not have enough fuel system, whether it's injectors, fuel pumps, line size, because no matter what the ECU does, it won't matter. I mean, the turbo truck, I think it had a clogged fuel filter. It definitely did, because we changed it and it was fixed, because it's still going through the stock filter. And the ECU is adding, because the Holley, if you've ever messed with Holley, the self-learn and the closed loop is insane. Like, it reads the wideband and literally just fixes it. Your tune could be way off and it would still probably drive fine. It's wild they were able to make it so good. But it was like adding 50% fuel, and it didn't matter because there wasn't enough fuel there because it was clogged. So anyway, fuel systems are important, especially turbo application, you know, because there's a lot of heat, you run out of fuel system. Ideally, we'll have it done in like a month and a half. I mean, that's really all the time we have left. The tough thing, too, is the next round would be a good and a bad round for it to be its first round. Like, it's kind of a good round for the Miata because it's a very simple infield track, which, you know, the Miata kind of shines at that kind of stuff. And it's, you know, it's not going to be that power hungry of a track. So it'd be a bad one for it to be its first one. But on the other hand, it would be a good one because, you know, if it's a bank track, it's just more risk. So, like, learning a car for the first time, you know, Journey Bear, a few wells on an intercooler piping. I have a few people, I have a few people reach out, and I wish I had time to do fab work for other people, because I like it, you know, like, if I was just doing that, that'd be great, but it's just, I don't have time, like my lawn was like a month overdue to be mowed and weed eated and edged, and I finally did it. Like today, I literally just did it earlier, and I mean, it's very rewarding, very satisfying. So yeah, that's the plan. I'll really know in about a week or 2 weeks how feasible getting it done for round 2 is, because that should be the amount of time it takes me to build the rest of the turbo kit and have pretty much all the hard parts done, and then it's just lines, fittings, and wiring, which we could breeze through that in a week and a half. Could take a month. I don't really know, because we don't know what troubles we're going to run into. So I'm really hoping by round 2. But again, if not, it is what it is. We'll take the Miata again. There's just no point. I put too much time and money into this thing, and taking my time as much as I can to rush it now. I want to get it done. I love for it to be done right now, but it's just not worth it. It's not worth rushing it or halfway doing something, and then you've got to come back and redo that later. I don't want to do that for anything. So yeah. Have you thought about getting a camera guy? I have, but I don't know, man. I just like working in my own little bubble. I'm weird. Skid plate under the motor, I might make one. Really, the bell housing is the only thing at risk. The dry sump pan is way up there. But yeah, so that's the plan with the Vette. Another thing I wanted to discuss with all of you. I was kind of surprised how many people maybe just don't understand drifting as well as I thought, in particular competition drifting. So after the clutch kickers comp, I got a bunch of comments basically oh, you lost to Denofa. He had a 350 horsepower Fox body. You have a 600, 700 horsepower Miata. Blah. And I'm like, first off, the biggest thing there, well, there's a few things, right? So one, I didn't lose because I didn't have enough power, right? I lost because I made a mistake. Simple as that. Thing two, we did find out the Miata's nitrous wasn't working. But even if it was, it would only make 550. Thing three, this is really the big thing that I realize people don't understand, and I've thought about it more lately, really after this round. So, yeah, Denofa's awesome. So when I battled him, I loosened my car up more than I'd had it all weekend, even more than I had it for qualifying. And the reason was I just wasn't that confident in what the car was going to do in the chase. I had only completed 1/4 of a chase run, and I ran into Wicknick at the end of the bank. So I didn't want to risk putting too much grip in it because the gearing wasn't right, which it seems like people think that the nitrous was to make the car faster, but the nitrous was just so it would do fourth gear on the bank with some amount of grip in it. So I wasn't confident how that was going to work. The thing is, when you put so much grip in it, it's you can only handbrake a couple of times before the car just straightens out, because you need the momentum. The way the car was, especially since the nitrous wasn't working, which makes a lot more sense now, you had to be full commit on the bank. So anyway, I took a lot of grip out of the car. And also, on top of that, I was even if I was confident that I could keep it together behind him with a lot of grip in the car, I don't want to try to just run away in the lead. If I did, and that's how I won, I ran away in the lead, and then in the chase, I'm all fighting the grip, but I just won because I was closer. That wouldn't have been any fun, And I'm not going to try to sound like a martyr. Obviously, I wanted to win, but I don't know. I just wanted it to be a good, clean battle, and also for my own sake, I didn't want to put too much grip in and just straighten out, because I knew Chelsea would call me out on that, you hooked the car up too much or something. So I know I've known Chelsea for almost a decade, literally almost 8 or 9 years. He got me my job at BC Racing. Yeah, I've known Chelsea a long time, and I mean, my first FT event I went to was I wasn't crewing for Chelsea, but I was with them. My friend was crewing for him. We stayed at the same lake house. I rode back with him. That was my first ever FD event. So, I had a lot of personal stake in Chelsea winning stuff. So anyway, that was really that. But what I realized people don't understand about competition drifting is it's not like other motorsports. So most motorsports, you're going to make your car as fast as it can be, right? In road racing, you're not going to go, this guy's car is a little slower than mine. I'm going to slow my car down. No, you just make it as fast as you can be, so you can be even that much faster than him. Or drag racing. You're not going to slow your car down because the other guy's car is slower. You're just going to go as fast as you can. But with drifting, I can't think of another motorsports like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can only make your car so fast compared to your competitor. And power is only relevant to how much grip you have. And that's what I realize a lot of people don't understand. Because they kept the power. 600 horsepower versus 350. Which, the crazy thing is, my car on motor, which it was, we confirmed that this weekend. We'll get into that later. Makes 480 wheel. Weighs 2,800 pounds with me in it. 2780. Chelsea's car, according to him, I've scaled my car. I've weighed my car. He's weighed his car. 2,400 pounds with him in it. 380 wheel. Said it was down a little bit on boost, 350, but very similar power to weight. But obviously, you wouldn't think that looking at it, like a Fox body versus a Miata. But when I built my Miata, the intent was never to compete in it. I was totally against competition at the time. I was like, no, it's stupid. And it was honestly because of Chelsea. Because I remember going to some rounds and seeing like I'm with this dude is a phenomenal driver, and he can't catch a break. He'll do a killer job, and then the car breaks, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want this to ruin drifting for me. I want to just have fun and drift. So I was against it for a long time. And when I built the Miata, the entire purpose of the Miata was just to be a cheap car to drive that was quick enough to keep up with cars that were more expensive to drive. So guys showing up on 265 sticky tires with 450 horsepower, like Pro-Am cars. I wanted to be able to keep up with them. And the idea was Miatas with like 200 horsepower and a 500 Trailwear 205 are pretty fast. So I was like, okay, a little more power, more reliable motor. I can run 205s, which are cheap. They're going to last forever, which I was very wrong about that. For gearing and wheel speed, yeah. But yeah, just be a cheap car to drive that could keep up with those stuff and would be super reliable. And I mean, it's been, knock on wood, I guess I have to drive it really good as far as that's concerned. Like once it was sorted, I don't have to like pop the hood hardly ever. But that was the goal. So it's got carpet, it's got insulation still. Like I was like, I'm not going to build this crazy of a car and not street drive it. Like why would I build this crazy of a car and not get to enjoy it other than drift events, which I go back and forth on that nowadays all the time. Like, whether it's better to just have a race car or a street car, because it's like, what do you even really do on the street if you're not total hoonigan ripping around doing burnouts everywhere, which I'm too old for that. What do you do on the street? But that was the idea, carpet, blah, blah, blah. So the car's just heavy. When I built it, I didn't stick with the mentality, and I'm having a hard time with this car doing it, but I'm trying. The 10 pounds here or there. Like, I see it and I'm like, 10 pounds? Like, it's 10 pounds, but you do that enough times and it's 100 pounds or 200 pounds or 300 pounds. So that was really what I did with the Miata. It's got a giant battery, full factory sheet metal. Like, it wasn't built to be light. So anyway, we just fell into competition. I went to my first round of Lone. I'd driven Lone Star events. I wanted to go out there in my own car. So I went and they had Pro-Am. So I was like, my car fits the rules of Pro-Am. I might as well do it while I'm here. It's more seat time, Why not, right? I didn't think it was, I wasn't really planning on doing it. And we did well, We managed to win the first one, and then we went to TMS, which everyone was like, your car won't be competitive there. It's too fast to a track. We managed to win there, which we got lucky because Jack Davis had my number. He was going to beat me, but he misshifted in the chase. I screwed up the run-up because my car was really fast in the run-up with the 5.3 in it because I'd leave in first gear. Now I always leave in second because it just makes enough power to where you leave in first, you look at the throttle and it's blowing the tires off. But back then, it didn't make that much power. It was a 5.3 with 350 wheel. So I could just like rock it out in first and bang the gears. And it was really fast on the line. So I didn't think I needed to jump him, but he had a V8, so his car was really fast off the line, and I got rolled. But anyway, that was fun. And that's what kind of got me into competing. From there, clutch kickers popped up, and I was like, man, there's no point in going. I'm just going to get destroyed. And I was like, you know what? looks like a good time. It's a good chance to drive against those guys. And we did well into the finals there with Alec. And that's really when it was like, okay, well, I guess this is what we're doing. I guess we're going to start competing. And that's when we started moving up, like upgrading the car, did the 6.2, and we've tried to be methodical with how we've upgraded the car, but that's why we're building a new car. It was just to a point where it was like, either we keep going with this car, which is limited as to what we can do with it, or we just start over with something new. Like, I learned so much in the 4 or 5 years of running that car that I can implement in a new car. And I mean, that's why I'm taking so much time and effort to try to come up with everything I can ahead of time. You know, like try to think everything through. Because there's a lot of things on my Miata I'd like to change, but it's like, it's a rabbit hole, you know? Like, I want to rewire it with a race pack. I have one for it, but it's like, if I do that, if I tear the interior and everything out to start rewiring it, who knows when that rabbit hole will end. But yeah, so someone asked if the carbon fiber rear firewall was fireproof. Is that what you're asking? I mean, Matt Field has it. I don't know if his car's ever been on fire, but I would imagine so. Probably not great, though. Probably not great, but making a metal one would be complicated. Have you considered direct drive Pro Charger? The problem is there's not enough room in front of the crank pulley. I know we've gone over this, so for those of you who heard it, I don't want to dig back into there. Well, I don't remember. There's a video where we go over the pros and cons, twin turbo versus single turbo. So the reasoning for doing a turbo, which I'll be honest, as much as I hate to admit it, after the round of clutch kickers, I was having a little bit of builder's remorse. It's I don't know. I'm still conflicted on it, but my original plan was to do an NA setup, make the car really light. That was the goal. But there was specifically one viewer who commented that if I did that at 650 horsepower, that at 2,700 pounds, would really only be a slight upgrade to the Miata. And I was like, you know what? That's true. That's true. Like, we're building a new car. The point is to have as competitive of a car as possible. Like, we might as well go with a power adder. And we were going to do a roots blower, but that just got way too complicated. Decided to do a turbo. But after this round of clutch kickers, I realized, like, the Miata is still pretty decently competitive, and apparently without nitrous. So I was thinking it was competitive at 550 wheels, competitive at 480 wheel. And really, the biggest upgrades that this car is going to give us is dog box transmission, being able to bang the gears, you know. It's not really been a huge problem before because we're only shifting once, but now shifting twice, like, it's tough. I have to shift so early, or it's a 50-50 shot if it goes in. So it's like, is it worth the risk to be a little faster on the run-up to miss the gear? Sorry, my voice. So, yeah, the dog box, the quick change, being able to dial in our gear ratio, that's going to be huge. And I didn't realize how important that was until clutch kickers. Or, well, not until clutch kickers. I still thought it wasn't that important. Until the Freedom Factory. Driving the car with grip there, I realized, like, if I could just change the gearing on the Miata, for example, boom, perfect. I could run a ton of grip in the car, and it would have enough power in A. You know, because my third gear is 88 miles an hour. My fourth is 114, almost 115. So it's a big spread, and fourth is just a little too much wheel speed. So basically, the speed you enter at when you get on throttle, the car's only at like 4,000 RPM, maybe 4,500. But in third gear, you're just sitting on limiter, and your wheels aren't spinning fast enough to draw a wide line and go up to the wall. So just stuck in between, and that's why I put the nitrous on, was just to give it that little extra oomph to spin them in fourth, which in hindsight, man, if we had figured out that it wasn't working, it would have been great, because it would have been a lot better. But basically, I just screwed up. When we first went to test it, it wasn't working because some of my inputs and outputs had got moved around. So when I was trying to fix that, I basically made a new output to turn the nitrous on, but it wasn't tied to the actual nitrous table. Like, it all looked like it was right until you went to like this one tab, and I realized it wasn't. The two weren't talking to each other. So we fixed that, confirmed the nitrous was working, confirmed that it wasn't working before that, because I opened my PMU and I watched to see if it was turning on. It wasn't turning on. We fixed it, now it turns on. And we used pretty much a whole bottle of nitrous, so it's working now. But yeah, gearing, wheel speed, quick change, that stuff's really going to be the biggest improvement in the car, more so than power and grip. Power and grip will be nice, but that stuff's really what we need. So in hindsight, I'm like, man, I mean, if I could have done like a 650, 700 horsepower NA combo, lightweight, with the quick change, with the dog box, like, yeah, it's the same thing as the Miata, but a little better. But man, the Miata recipe works all right. So like, what's the problem with improving it? But at the end of the day, this is my goal here to build this car is to have no questions. You know, like there will be no question whether our car is as fast as somebody else's car. Like I just, you know, why not? We'll see where it goes. You know, just having a car that's capable of whatever. Like this car would be, if it's reliable and all that stuff, right? Like, and get it dialed in, you know, it would be a competitive car in Pro 1. I hate to say competitive. It would be, no one would question it in Pro 1. People wouldn't be like, that car doesn't belong here. You know, and that's the goal, just to make it as legit as possible. So, yeah. Are we waiting on the shop to get electricity, or are we moving into it after that build? To go back to the beginning, basically waiting on the electric permit. We're getting spray foam this week, and then hopefully the electric will be here. Someone asked about a Safiro update. Yeah, so I was waiting on a throwout bearing for it for like 4 months. I finally got it, but we are way too deep in with this to take time to deal with that. So yeah. Oh, I lost track. I want to get back to this. It seems like people don't understand drifting in the sense of grip versus power. Power is irrelevant without the grip. And like if you took a 1500 horsepower car with a freaking big block pro charged motor and you put it on a 255 tire at 30 psi, like a wing long tire, it would get rickrolled by a Z on an Nitto G2. Like rickrolled. It wouldn't matter. The power only matters if you put the grip in it. And that was the thing I realized people didn't really understand, because, you know, my battle with Chelsea, I talked about it. I aired the tires up a lot more to make the car a little looser. So it wouldn't matter if I had another 300 horsepower, it would have done the same thing, because there was only so much grip in there. You know, I was running really triple the pressure I'd run to put it in kill mode. And if you drift and you've messed around with tire pressures, you know that double is insane. Triple, you know, like if you take a tire at 30 psi, you go to 15, like it's a completely different car. It's insane. So anyway, ran the car loose. And that's the thing I realize people don't understand when they're seeing these battles and comparing cars and like, oh, well, that car's got 200 more horsepower or whatever it is. You know, even an FD, it's like, yeah, but it only matters how much grip they can put in it. And that's where drifting's kind of weird, because it's something I thought about. I'm like, it wouldn't matter if this car was the fastest car out there by like threefold. I can only put as much grip in it as my competitor. You can put more grip in it than your competitor, but only by so much, right? Like if you take this car and you put it on kill mode and you go follow a stock LS1Z or a stock LS1 240 on some 235 tires, whatever, you know, something that's not super fast, like you're not going to have enough speed to keep the car in drift. The more grip you put in, the more committed you have to be on the throttle. So you can't just sit back there behind them going slow. Like there's a certain speed you have to be going to even stay in drift. So it's like you can't just make your car way faster than the other guy. And I guess that's kind of a cool thing about drifting. Again, you can make it faster. And, you know, some people err on the side of having too little grip. Some people err on the side of having too much grip. And I err on the side of having too much grip. But at a bank track, that can get you in trouble a lot faster than anywhere else. Josh asked if you would start on cut knuckles or full send wise fab. It really depends on what the car is. But I would say, it depends on what the car is. If it's a Z, wise fab. If it's not a Z, probably not. Some other more basic angle kit. Control arms and knuckles, like a destroyer die kit or, yeah, anyway. So yeah. Okay, another thing that I wanted to cover, but that's drifting in a nutshell. You got to be within the realm of what your other car is. And you see people get into trouble almost more having too much grip than too little grip. You know, hooking their car up way more. And it's a gamble too, because you may go against a really fast car and they might have their stuff loosed up, you know, and then it's like, oh crap, like you enter They're expecting them to be fast, and all of a sudden you're like, your car's trying to drive through their door, and it's hard to keep it under control, especially on a bank. I can usually keep it together on like clutch kickers. I can run a lot more grip than I need to battle that person, and it's still like I can still keep it together. LS swapped RX-8. I would say definitely probably Wise Fab then. That's tough though. I don't know those chassis, so I don't want to give you a hard and fast which one's better. But if it's going to be a forever drift car. I don't see why not. But I don't know. Some angle kits are better on different chassis than they are on others. Any plans of doing FD? The way I see it, the only way for me to really, for it to be worthwhile to do FD would be to just do Pro 1. And that's why I'm not building this car to Pro Spec rules, because I just have to do it backwards. I'd have to do a front radiator, which wouldn't even be possible with this turbo setup. I'd have to get rid of the pedal box and the column, like all this stuff that's car already had. So for that reason, it's like it would really only be legal for Pro 1. But then obviously that's a huge jump. Like even if it was open and they said, hey, you can come tomorrow. Like it's a huge jump in driver skill level. It's a huge jump in car, which in theory should be competitive, but you know what I'm saying. And it's a huge jump in program and budget. I mean, those teams, the top teams, they've got 10, 15, 20 people per car, I run a program where it's me, Raldo, and Josue. Maybe we're just hanging out. And that's why I always try to build, and I'm trying to build this car to be as turnkey as possible, That way I don't have to change a nitrous bottle every 2 laps or do this or do that. Like ideally, we should just have to put tires and fuel in it and check it over between rounds. So it's a lot of commitment, and it's a lot of money. It is very, very expensive. And I feel like, maybe I could get some of that in sponsors if I, went and sold them on the program, but I just don't know that I would feel right, like taking a company's money to put their sticker on my car to go drive FD. Like if a company's willing to sponsor me a product, like I see that. I see that there's value there, right? But like, I don't know. It's just something I've never done before. So I'm not at all familiar with that side of things. But there's no way, like, to do it without any sponsorship money would be ridiculous. Because, you're talking on a budget, Pro 1 is probably, I would say, at the bare minimum, 50 grand, really more than that. Probably, let's say about 10 grand per round, so $80,000. So that's a lot. Would you create a Skillshare class? Recording, editing, and promoting YouTube videos. I did want to do a video on, something on how I edit my videos now, because I thought that would be funny. Someone said, oh, well, 50 grand. Not, probably like 100. Some of those teams spend $500,000 per season. Like, you don't realize it's that expensive, but been watching since the wagon come and swap way back. Can't wait to see the vet ripping. I have O3 cat eye. Oh, nice. I wish mine was a cat eye. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I wish it was a cat eye. I try to tell myself I like the non-cat eye, but it's just me telling myself that, so I don't have to change it. So, realistically, how much longer does the Corvette have? We went into it a bit earlier. Ideally, a month and a half, 2 months. I've got a couple of fab projects left. I would say a week worth of fab work, not counting the fan shroud and maybe some other things that pop up. Wiring, plumbing. So, it's hard to say. It's hard to make a guess on that, and I would just be lying to myself. Someone asked about the Pulsar. Is the Pulsar going to get... what if a brand asked you to drive for them? Oh, absolutely. Like, if someone came to me and said, hey, like, you could drive our car. Like, maybe you got to help us sell it to sponsors or whatever. Like, why not? But that's not really how FD works. It's not like F1 where there's teams and, like, you just go to a team. Like, it's starting to progress that way because you have RTR as a team now with more than one driver. You have Papadakis as a team now with more than one driver, but it's not, you still really have to run your own program for the most part, like you are, and for those guys that really do it and are out there doing it, like, it's your whole life, like, it's so much time and commitment to make that work and run your own program. And it's just, I don't know, I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. And for me, it's like, let's say we get this car done and it's like perfect, no issues, super competitive, super fast, yada yada, right? And it's just on me, right? Which it already is, but let's just say it's 100% on me. There's no car question marks. Unless I could dang near win every single round of clutch kickers, why would I bother going to Pro 1? If I'm not competitive enough to be up there, like top 3 every round of clutch kickers, I'm not going to be competitive in Pro 1, So why bother going there? So I would have to prove that to myself first, which, I mean, that's a tall order. It's like, someone said it to me, a friend of mine, I was talking about FD. I was thinking about it a lot more, like, I don't know, before we started building this car. And they were like, oh, is clutch kickers not a challenge anymore? And I was like, no, what do you mean? Of course it's a challenge. It's super hard. Like, why would it not be? And he's like, then why do you want to go to FD? And I was like, fair point. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And now there's more stuff popping up. So Riverside Drift, Indiana, they're having a $50,000 round, which, when I talk about the money, and I think I could probably speak for a lot of people, but at least for myself, for me, when I see the big money, I'm like, oh wow, we have $50,000 round. To me, it's nothing to do with the money. Like, obviously I could use the money, but it's not like I'm gonna go there and win that money. I'm like, I'm gonna beat them all. When there's big money, there's big name drivers and good drivers. And my whole goal, did you have to machine the bell housing? No, I did not. My whole goal is to just drive against the best people I can. And I want to see how I stack up. That's my only desire to go to FD, is just to see where do I land, But it's just hard to know that because, the equipment's never equal and whatever. But when I see these big payout events, I'm excited because I'm like, that means good drivers are going to come out. And Riverside set it up to where it's between 2 FD rounds. I don't remember which ones, but it's like this event, if we don't get the car done for round 2 of clutch kickers, we have to do everything we can to get it done for that. We're already signed up because, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, there's a lot. Like, Denof is going, like, half the FD field is going to be competing in this thing, which some people will be like, oh, that sucks. Man, like, how am I going to win against FD drivers? But for me, it's like, I just want to battle them and see how I stack up. So I am, like, beyond stoked about that. But them doing that, and they have $10,000 rounds as well. All these things getting popular is really making it where there's almost a second market outside of FD. I mean, you get enough FD drivers coming and competing at these events. It's like, what's really the difference? It's simpler. It's way more laid back. It's way more cost effective. There's way more potential for return. Like, you could actually make money. Like, you could profit if you were good enough and ran your program well. Like, the cost of our program, I could profit if I won even a couple rounds, but, some people go spend so much money that it's like, it wouldn't even be profitable if they won every round. See the comment the other day about the socket. It wasn't left on the table. That was my 3/8 Allen socket. I was looking for my 1/4-inch Allen socket that matches that set, and I still haven't found it, dude. I don't know. Yeah. So, so another interesting topic. When really up until about 2 years ago, I was always of the mindset that I would rather, like, if I had $60,000 that I was going to spend on a car. Appreciate you, Taylor. Do what makes you happy. Thank you, Vectors. If I had $60,000, let's say, to spend on a car, I would much rather buy a $20,000 Evo, for example, put $40,000 into it. Oh, big brakes, built motor, bigger turbo, yada yada, good suspension, and like, that would be super competitive. Okay, or not competitive, but fast and way better than a newer car I could buy for $60,000. And what I'm realizing as I get older is it's just not. Like, it's just not. You can go buy, a few-year-old newer BMW M3 or some sort of car like that, and it's going to be better than like a heavily modified older car. That older car might be a little bit faster, like let's say on a racetrack, but it's going to be worse at everything else. And it's weird to be learning this and realizing this because, you know, on the one hand, you love the shitbox vibes, like the feeling of an older crappy car and the smells and all of that stuff. On the other hand, you're like, I'm getting old, you know. I like the new truck has been amazing. Like getting in a car that's just like silent and drives nice. We were coming back today and I was on this twisty road and I was mobbing with the dually and I was like, dude, I'd probably go faster through here. Probably could go faster through here than in my Pulsar. Like it's just so composed. What is all this F, big L? What is this? I don't know. What's the plan for tuning the Corvette? Hopefully, F in the chat. What? What are people talking about? This is, I can't talk to read the chat. I did see Colette's car set on fire, which is terrible. I heard that it's not as bad as it looks, which I hope. Because, dude, car fires are, and it's crazy because I was thinking about getting fire suppression for the Vette, even though I won't technically need it, you know, for the series that I run. But I was like, you know what? Like, there's going to be so much money into this car and time, and, like, it would be nice to have that safety there, you know, just in case. And then that happened. I'm like, well, that cements it for me. I'm definitely getting a fire suppression system. But that's, dude, fires. Like, we were talking about it today. Like, I would rather wreck my car into the bank wall than it catch on fire because the fire just ruins so much stuff. F is for the socket. So that's funny. I still can't find it. I don't know where it is. So I really hope it's not that bad. I really do because fires are one of those things where you dig and dig and dig and you just keep finding more and more damaged stuff. So I haven't seen the video. I don't know if she's put a video out yet, but I'm definitely going to watch it and see what happened. But that's a bummer, man. That car was looking solid. The Dr. Pepper looks good. It's warm now. I put my sodas in the freezer. I don't know if anyone else does this. I put them in the freezer for like 10 to 15 minutes before I drink them. So that way they're like just on the border of frozen, like a slushie almost. But that way by the time I'm done with them, because I take a long time to drink them and I'm out here and it's warm and whatever, by the time I'm done, they're still cold. I just do not like warm soda. I'm like, this is so bad for me that like I'm not gonna drink it if it's warm. Like, what's the point of putting something bad for me in that I don't even want to drink because it's warm now? Like, that's just pointless. So people have asked about the final color for the car. I mean, as of right now, I have no clue. I really don't know whether I'm gonna do livery or not, what color. You know, it's funny because it seems like a lot of people, when they see the builds, like viewers, they expect like the aesthetics to be really the priority or like something done very quickly. For me, the aesthetics are always like absolute last thing. Like once I get the car running right and solid and sorted, okay, now aesthetics. But besides that, it's like, I don't know. I care about the mechanical, you know, and I don't really care. I mean, I want the car to be complete and have matching body panels. I'm not saying I want it to be mismatched, but for me, I care about the aesthetics of the mechanicals, right? So like all the mechanical stuff has to look good, has to be done right, no janky stuff. But the car, like, you know, if it's got some scratches or some dings or a mismatched panel, like it doesn't bother me that much. But that being said, we're obviously gonna paint it. We need to represent ourselves well, but at the same time, it's low on the totem pole. Like, I mean, if it gets done this season, that would be cool. But, I mean, I can paint it myself because all the body panels come off. But painting in the garage kind of sucks just because the whole house smells like paint. So I need to ask Adam about if I could take it to the paint booth there. But it's just like all I need to do is just take them all off. I could paint them one at a time if I wanted to. So maybe I'll paint it soon. I don't know. How much does a car like that cost you? A lot, dude. You don't realize how expensive. I mean, for example, the transmission alone, and it's not even the super fancy sequential, it's just an H pattern, is $8,000. $6,000 to $8,000, depending on where you buy it from. The diff is like $3,000. The turbo is like $3,000. Like it's wild. And I mean, that's why I'm like, you know what? Like, we're this deep. Like, let's just make it as sick as we can, because we're already this deep. Like, we might as well just make it as legit as possible. So let's see. But yeah, so I'm gonna sell the Pulsar. At least ideally sell the Pulsar, get the giveaway done on the Fummins, and then maybe I'll buy like a newer sports car. I really want one now. Ben got a newer sports car, and I really like the idea of it, like just cruising a comfy car to the Dragon and like mobbing the Dragon. But I'm like, man, I'm getting old. That's what I'm excited about. But I need to get rid of the Pulsar soon. I haven't driven it much. It's in the way. So I need to get rid of that. Someone keeps asking twin turbos. If you watch the videos, there's a whole video on twin versus single turbo where I mocked up twin turbos and everything and showed the whole thing. He's still commenting it. Showed the whole thing. So if you want to know about why we didn't do it and about that, there's a whole video explaining every aspect of it. What's the plan for tuning the Corvette? Okay, that's been asked a lot. I haven't really thought about it that much. Like, I'll probably get a base tune from Matt Happel. The engine's too expensive for me to just let Holly do its thing like I do on the Miata and the truck. Neither of those have. Well, the Miata was tuned by Kevin, but then I changed a bunch of stuff, and with the nitrous, it's got a different tune now. But they're both just like a base map with the Holly self-learn and closed loop on. And the Holly just takes the wheel and does its thing, dude. It's mind-blowing. Like, I think back to having like an SR car with an old AM standalone, and you know, there was like some boost correction map I couldn't find. I couldn't get it to run quite right. And like the Holly on the truck and the Miata, you just put a tune on it that's close and turn the base cow and turn the closed loop on, and it's like, I got it. Don't worry about it, man. We're good. I got it. It's absurd. Like, it's absurd. But I'm not going to do that with this, because if it doesn't catch up in time, that's a very expensive engine to break. Is there a lot of maintenance required for the trans you're running? Yeah, you have to service them way more than like an OEM transmission, but they are much better shift, much faster shifting. They don't miss gears, all that stuff. They're much smaller, much lighter, and much stronger. But with the more race car stuff you have, you know, the more you have to service it. Like, a lot of people don't realize that. Like, it's not just about it being expensive. It's like, it's expensive, and now you got to service it. It's not a part designed for an OEM car to go hundreds of thousands of miles. It's a part designed to be raced and for you to check on it and service it. Do you plan on coming to Willow Springs? I would love to go out there someday. Now that I have a new truck, I'm going to make a trip to California to go drifting. Any plans to travel overseas or see you come down? I have actually. I need to message him back, but I've been talking to Stewie Bryant about going to Australia sometime this year. I need to see what he said. Dr. Pepper or Mr. Pibb? Mr. Pibb. But yeah, I would love to do that. And Stewie Bryant's like, you don't know Stewie Bryant, he was like my hero back in the day. When I first saw the Inertia MS videos of him, like, he's the first person I saw like legitimately just banging doors, like just missile carring it, tandeming so close, bouncing off doors. So for him to ask me if I want to come is like an honor. So I want to make it happen. It's just, I gotta not start any new big projects once this is done for a little while and go do the traveling and stuff I want. I'm just so busy working. And like, that's really what I want to do, is be in here working on stuff. Like, that's honestly what makes me the happiest, I would say. Of like, well, that's not true. Like, competing when it's going well and you're winning, like, obviously that's great. But when it sucks, or when it's not going well, you know, it's not great. I don't know. Like, I like traveling. I like going to events. I like that whole aspect. But I also like just being here, working on my junk in my garage. I just really enjoy it. Don't know if you went over this. Would you ever sell the Miata? No, I did talk about that a while ago. One alien fitting on me, man. Dylan Weeby? What do you mean? I don't know what that means. How's the spare package for the Vette coming along? It's non-existent. That's going to be another tough thing. People think about. Someone asked me what my favorite drift car is. Corvette. Someone asked, it's not just building a new car if you're changing a comp car. Like, you also have to have spares. And you know, the Miata, we've been running that car for years. I've been competing with it for 2.5, almost 3 years now. And we've built up like spare parts, like all these little things that we need, big things that we need. We know how to fix any and everything. And not just me, but Raldo and Josue have been around for pretty much every job you could do on the car at this point. So we all know how the car works, how to do certain things. Because that was a struggle in the beginning because I built the car, so I'm super intimately familiar with it. So anytime someone would help me, I was just like, at the track or something, I'll just do it because I know how, I put it together. I know how it goes. I know how this is wired. But they've become intimately familiar with the car. I'm obviously very familiar with the car. So it's like not only do we have the stuff that could break, and we know kind of what the weak points are and where those parts are and how to replace them, but we have the parts. Chrissy makes you the happiest, trust me. Yeah, no, she does. Chrissy's great. She's probably watching this right now. She's probably smiling at that comment. What's Chrissy's favorite project? That's a good question. I think she likes the Miata the most. Because when I first got it done, we would take it to like go get coffee when I lived over by Ben, and she said yes. She's on here. We would take it to get coffee and stuff, and yeah, Chrissy's great though. We've been together for almost 5 years. 5 years next month, which is wild to me because my next longest relationship was like less than a year, I think. 5 years. We've lived together for almost a year and a half now, ever since I've lived here. And we've never had a real fight argument, ever. I figured we would once we moved in together, but it's crazy. It's great. Someone asked if I was sponsored by Nitto. Like, yes, I am. So it started out like pretty basic, and then they're really good at under-promising and over-delivering, Oh, we'll help you out a little bit, and then they help you out more than you thought they would. And they've been, Ron and Harry at Nitto have been, I cannot thank them enough. They literally have been life-changing to be able to work with them. And they're so cool, and like they watch, they're passionate about it. They have a lot of faith in me, like more faith than I think they should, but they have a lot of faith in me as a driver. And that's a really cool feeling, for a company you work with to really believe in you as a driver and what you're capable of doing. Like that goes a long way, so they've really gone above and beyond to help me. And it really panned out because when I started working with them, they watched Clutch Kickers, like, I don't know if it was the next round or a round after, but that was when we did pretty well and went to the top 8, and then like the next round we won. So it's like they might be a little jaded because that was their first experience watching me compete, and it like hadn't been like that before. But they're really cool. They're really great. Nitto's a great company. I mean, I think it's crazy that they're willing to sponsor me. Like, I'm a grassroots guy. Like, yeah, I do YouTube, but I'm not even some crazy big YouTuber either. I'm just like a small YouTuber, but I compete and do this grassroots stuff. And like, to me, the fact that they're willing to support someone like me who's not an FD driver, not a pro, something or another, it says a lot about them as a company. Finding tires these days can be a real chore. Yeah, I mean, that's why we're going to be running FD scrubs. So it's like, hope they should last. From what I understand, they last a long time. So that's why we're doing that. Small YouTubers, 600,000 subs. Well, you gotta understand, I'm friends with, Cletus and Adam, and to me, I'm small in comparison. And to me, I'm just, I don't know, people can say this and it sounds cheesy, but like, I just don't feel like I'm anybody. And I'm not, but that's always weird because some people, yeah. Anyway, I'm a normal guy. It's always when people are like, you're so normal, like you're just a normal. I'm like, yeah, because everyone's a normal guy. Like Elon Musk is a normal guy. Like everybody is a normal guy, or obviously guy or girl, right? But all people are just people, dude. You could meet your hero and they're just a person, So it's like, at the end of the day, everyone's just people. Like I'd be more excited to meet someone I watch that has, say, 50,000 subscribers than someone I don't watch that has 50 million. Like you start to realize that stuff doesn't really matter, And it's interesting too because the people I'll meet at events, you can tell when they actually watch the videos and they're actually into this stuff, and when they just want to meet you and take a picture with you because you're a YouTuber and you know these other YouTubers. Like, they're just totally different kinds of people. Like, the people that are like that are the most rude people. Like, they just come up because they don't care. They don't actually like you, so they don't care if they offend you or frustrate you or whatever. They just want to get their picture to say, oh, I was with this YouTuber that knows this YouTuber or whatever. Whereas the people who actually watch, like pretty much anyone who's on here, I would imagine, are super cool. Like, you can have a whole conversation with them, or they're respectful, like, oh, hey, I see you're busy, just wanted to say hi, you know, whatever. But some people, I mean, you'll literally be under the car, like, covered in oil, like, rushing, like, helmet still on to get back out on track in time, and they'll be like, hey, can you come take a picture with me? You're like, dude, I'm a little preoccupied here, you know? I guess it's just that some people might not understand how it works. Like, most of the time, we're not at the track and just going drifting at our leisure. We're not just like, hey, I'm gonna go drifting now. It's like we have a time schedule, and it's like people will come up to me as I'm like getting strapped in to go battle someone, and they're like, can you come out and take a picture with me? And I'm like, I don't have time, dude. I've got to go over there and compete, you know? Like, I guess just people, you know, they don't understand that. And for me, it seems so straightforward because I'm in it, I'm doing it, I know the schedule. But if you didn't, I can understand why you wouldn't understand that. Ron says, tell Sandy I said hi. I will tell her. I should let her out here more. It's just, no matter how much I sweep, there's always metal shavings. I don't want her walking around with metal shavings. So, you and Josue do it all yourself, too. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's something, it just depends on who you are. And it depends on, like, what kind of stress you want. You know, like, it would be just as difficult and stressful for me to, like, hire a team of people and make that commitment as it would be to do it all myself. It's like, I'm just happy with where I'm at. I don't need to grow anymore. Like, I just want to do what I'm doing. I'm just happy with what I'm doing, you know? And it's weird because I don't know. It's just like you can either push and have that drive to like just keep growing and expanding and doing more, or you can just be happy with where you're at. And I'm just one of those people, like, I'm happy with where I'm at. Like, I'm good with it, you know? And it's like going to that next level that those guys are at is a lot of stress. Like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know that I could do it. The stress that they, you know, and the stuff they've got to keep up with, like, it's crazy. Like, it's a lot. And you say, oh, well, they have a team. Well, yeah, but they still got to, like I struggle with mentally managing all these different things. Like, you know, the actual business stuff that you have to do, and just car to car, like, oh, this car needs this, that car needs that, or these parts, I'm going to work on this car, but oh, shoot, the parts aren't here, and oh, I got to call the spray foam guy back again and tell him I want to move forward, and I mean, to check with the electrician, like, bouncing around through so many things, and it's not even a fraction of what some people are bouncing around in their heads, you know? It's like, that's tough. Like, that stress is tough, and that's why, for me, I mean, I'm still stressed sometimes, you know? It's just got a lot going on in my head. I tell Chrissy, like, my brain's fried when I come in, because, you know, it's like I get so sucked into, like, this car that I don't think about, but it's hard for me to focus on anything else. And, like, there's a lot of other stuff I should be prioritizing and getting done, but, like, all I want to do is build this car or whatever project, you know? But that's, like, if I could just do that and film and I didn't have to do any of the other stuff, that would be great. But it's just, you got to do the back end business stuff. It's just life. But it's tough. It's stressful, and it requires a lot of self-discipline. And, like, I say I don't have time. Like, I have time. I could take an hour that I spend in the morning, you know, getting up, getting going, hanging out with the dogs, drinking my coffee, and I could take 2 hours at night, and I could have 3 more hours a day or so. But it's like, at what point do you stop? You know, like, is it worth whatever amount of money you're making if you're just working all the time and you're miserable? You know, and even if you love what you do, like, if you're working to that extreme and you're expanding and growing, it's easy to get stressed out. So, like, that's why for me, I don't care to just, like, try to keep pushing the envelope, because I'm just happy with where I'm at now, and I'm not super stressed out, and I enjoy my life. I make enough money to go drifting and do what I want to do. You know, I can't go buy a twin-turbo Lambo, but a twin-turbo Lambo wouldn't make me any happier than the K-Swap Zafiro or the new truck or whatever. Like, none of that stuff would make me any happier. Like, it'd just be cooler versions of the same thing. But you get to this point where you just, it's all relative, you know? Like, getting the new truck. After like 2-3 weeks with the new truck, now the Cummins feels like old and dated and whatever, but like it felt new to me before because all my other cars are old and dated. Like it's all relative. And you know, some people will see someone who like had it easy. They're like, it must be nice. Must be nice. Parents paid for everything, whatever. But honestly, like, probably sucks because nothing you get would satisfy you. Like, nothing you get would do anything for you. If like you just had a fully built drift car as your first drift car, and then you're like, I need a truck, and you just got a brand new truck. That was your first truck. Like, you wouldn't appreciate it. Like, you know, I bounced around from truck to truck and built a whole truck and struggled for, you know, to get the right truck and get it sorted and dealt with reliability. So for me now, like every time I get in the new truck, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is so cool. I can't get over it. But that's because I didn't, you know, I had to work towards that. And like, I don't know, I'm just saying, basically every situation has its pitfalls. You know, I'm not trying to say feel bad for them. But like, you know, I didn't have it easy. I didn't get money from my parents, whatever. I was pretty much on my own at 16. But I'm glad. Because now I'm just like every day I look at my house. I'm like, I have a house. Like, this is crazy. I'm building a shop. Got a drift car and a truck and a trailer. Like, this is crazy. You know, like, this is so cool. And I don't think I would appreciate it as much if I didn't have to work for it, you know? Shop news. You're a little late. But if you go back to the beginning, how would you recommend getting started into YouTube? How do you edit videos? Didn't you watch? The only how-to video I watched on how to edit was I found this video on Premiere Pro quick keys. And like I set my quick keys up like that, and that is like how I've edited ever since. But then other than that, I just kind of like figured it out. And there's a lot of things that's like one of those things, you know, I'm so focused on just the day-to-day, doing the projects, getting the car done, getting the video edited, that like I should take the time to learn more things about Premiere Pro. Like, there's probably people who've been using it for a month that know more about it than I have, who've been using it for 5 years, but I know how to do what I need to do, you know, and if I don't know, I usually will just not do it instead of figuring it out. What's up with the big garage? The shop, well, I'm not gonna, basically getting spray foamed, waiting for an electrical permit. Any ideas on how to get started drifting and in the car scene? I mean, just do it, you know, just do it. I mean, it's definitely a deep rabbit hole, so be careful before you fall in. But I mean, just, I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, I just started drifting at such a young age, and I met friends through car meets, and I don't know, it's a different world today. You know, I met my friend who got me into drifting on a forum, on a Pelican, was it Pelican? It was like an old Porsche 944 forum, because I needed something. He was supercharging an NA 944, and like, no, everyone just told you to sell it and buy a turbo, which now that I know, that's the smarter choice. But he was like, come check it out one day, and I met him, and we became friends, and then I ended up getting this turbo one from my NA one, and then he was like, you should drift it. That's how it happened for me. So like, I don't know, you know, go to car meets and stuff. Any plans to partner with companies and produce retail versions of your fabricated parts? The problem is everything I do is so like one-off, you know, like everything I build is like very specific for a purpose. So like, I don't think there's anything that I mean, like an expansion tank would be like the only thing I've built that would just like swap onto anything. When is the Cummins getting compounds? Probably never, but we are doing a giveaway. I just need to see, that's another thing. So focus on day to day. I haven't really made any progress towards getting the giveaway ready for the funds, but I will eventually. We got Raldo and Josue doing the merch stuff now. If you want merch, go to garagemoco.com. Check it out. I never promote it. I don't want to hawk stuff down your throats, you know? I don't know. Figure if people want merch and care enough, they should be able to find the website and find it. But I could be wrong on that, you know? So, sick week in the F350. That would be hilarious. Do it. I'll set a drag racing record for 2020 F350 dually with an enclosed trailer, 32 feet in length, aluminum drag racing record. Drag racing records are so funny. They're just so specific. Like Mustang with power windows from 96 with a small block Ford, smaller than this but bigger than this with this carburetor. Like, oh, okay. Pie cut pieces. I thought about that. Like something. Oh, do we? Hold on. we have these stickers. Mr. Farms designed them for me. We're giving them away with every order. I'm sure we still have some left. I'd have to check whether they're all done this way. But if you order a shirt or anything, we're just throwing them in. So, need to make stickers and stuff. All right. I feel like I've got. I mean, I have my little notes here of what I wanted to remember to cover, because that's the worst. You know, it's like when you're talking to someone and you think of all the stuff you wanted to say after. You're like, dang it! Like I was going to talk about that and I forgot. Don't you have OCD with those long interconnects? Yeah, for some reason, I definitely have OCD about stuff being organized, but for some reason I don't even notice them. And like I was going to change them immediately because I thought it was going to bother me so much. And like, someone asked, aren't you worried about the intercooler being so... I mean, yeah, I'm worried about the intercooler being so close, but there's only so many places you can put stuff. I get comments like that all the time, like, oh, well, the turbo is now going to heat soak the intercooler pipe that goes above it. And it's like, okay, well, where else could I put it? It's not like I had other options. Like, that was still the best option. Like, there's always going to be pitfalls with every option, you know? There's never going to be something that's just like, oh, wow, I can put it here and there's no negatives, you know? So, yeah. You got to compromise somewhere. Exactly. Like, you always have to. So it's like, I can't move the intercooler back because the turbo's there. I can't move the turbo any which way because then I can't run the downpipe, and I can't get an air intake. Did you build the turbo kit, the Corvette, from aluminum? It's stainless. Air to water intercooler. I don't want to deal with putting ice water in something. You know, I'd have to have a tank and do like ice water. It goes back to that, like, I want the car to be as turnkey as possible. You know, someone mentioned like an air to water intercooler, you know, in the intake, like you see on one of the drag cars, which that would be great. That would make things way easier. I would just have a pipe coming right out into the throttle body. That would be killer. But it's a drift car. Like, we're going out there lap after lap. We're sitting there idling in grid, moving up slowly. Like I mean, you could put ice in it every lap, but I'm not going to bring an ice chest. Like, I don't want the car to be something where I've got to like prep it for 30 minutes to do a lap. So that's kind of the big difference between drift cars and drag cars. And it's hard because a lot of the Turbo LS stuff is drag oriented. So like you try to get, you know, so you see some ideas, you're like, oh wait, that wouldn't really work, you know? If you had an air water intercooler, like it would literally be just the ice melted after a lap, and you'd have to go back to the pits. I don't even know if you could make it through a battle without the intake air temps getting crazy. So, I mean, in reality, the car is at that level of car where I'm dreaming if I think I'm going to go out there and do 5-6 laps without having to stop and check anything. I'm probably dreaming, but that's what I want it to be. You know, the Miata, I think at Clutch Kickers, I don't know if we ever opened the hood. I remember the purge quit working, and maybe I opened the hood to check and see if it was plugged in, but it was just a wire under the dash. But that's what I want. Methanol, no intercooler. So I don't know if it's even allowed in drifting, but methanol just gets kind of crazy, and I don't know that I want to deal with that. And then also, you know, we're drifting, we're on and off throttle, we're running for a lot longer than you would on a drag race. Where's your work ethic come from? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just, you know, I guess liking what I do, and I just always, you know, even when I worked at Steak and Shake as my first job, like, I wanted to be good at it, you know? Like, I wanted to be the best dang grill cook in the store. Like, I didn't want to be some mediocre grill cook who just got by. Like, I wanted to be the best one. I wanted to be the one that threw 60 patties on the grill, you know? Like, I guess that's it, you know? I want to do the best I can at everything I do. And it motivates me to try to do as much as I can. Methanol wouldn't be ideal in case of fires. Yeah, methanol seems, like, I'll run methanol on a drag car, but I don't think it's the right move for a drift car that you're, like, bouncing off people. Check all the lines before testing. Oh, yeah. No. And that's one of those things, too. I don't think that's what caused their fire, but with lines, it's like you'll put them on hand tight. You'll put stuff on a car hand tight when you're building it, because you're taking it on and off, and you'll think, like, oh, I'll end up taking this off again, and then I'll put it back on and I'll actually tighten it. And then you realize, like, you go to start it and you got oil spraying everywhere because you forgot to tighten it. You know, like, I've been thinking about that with this car. There's some of the stuff I've left loose, and I'm like, I need to tighten this now, otherwise I'm going to forget. What's your 5-year plan? I don't even have one, to be honest with you, just this. Hopefully this keeps going. Really, my only motivation to do more, make more money than I do now would just be to save for the future in case like things went bad. 3D printed. Oh my God, yes, John Brown. Would you be interested in working with me to design titanium 3D printed exhaust manifolds for twin turbos on the Vette? Yes, still. The only problem with twins, and like, I don't know if this came through on the video, it's just right here. Like, there's just no room to have an exhaust runner and a downpipe. I mean, yeah, and this is frame rail. So it's like you couldn't really cut this out, and then the firewall's fiberglass. So that's really the biggest problem. You know, if the steering shaft wasn't here, it even still would be tight. I mean, for now, I could run downpipes out the fender, but I mean, let's be real. I'll probably never drive FD in this. I don't know, but I don't know. Like, my mind, you know, things change from year to year. Like, so much can happen in a year, and that's why I'm trying to build this car for all scenarios. You know, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But my thing is, if clutch kickers and all this kind of stuff continues, this is what I want to do. Like, it's fun, it's affordable, it's laid back, it's great competition. I think a lot of people got disillusioned by this last round, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that show up next round and think, oh, I'm going to stomp these dudes out. Like, watching those battles, oh, I got this, I'm going to win, and they're going to have a rude awakening. People, one, don't understand how hard comp drifting is. You know, they'll do 10 runs in a row with their boys. And I do this too, you know, like I'll do it with Ben. I can do run after run after run. And like, when you're doing run after run after run, it's real easy to do a good run. But when you just sat around for 4 hours and now you got to go right now, do a killer run against someone you've maybe never driven with on a track you may have 5 laps on, it gets a lot harder. And that's something that people don't realize. And that's all competitions, because any competition, it's right here, right now. You know, like BMX competition. I was talking to Raldo about this. Like, I forgot that I did one back in the day at Vans, and I got 6th, which was really cool because I just turned 16. I was in the 16 and up class. We were just talking about skate parks earlier. And, you know, it's right here, right now. Like, it's not like I can do this trick 40 tries, and if I get it the one time, like, that's great. And you know, people will see it, oh, he's not even doing that crazy of tricks, like, let's say. But it's like, he's doing crazy tricks to be doing them in a line, you know, back to back. And it's the same with drifting. It's like, you may see a battle and be like, I could do a better chase run than that. It's like, yeah, but could you do a better chase run than that right now? I just threw you in your car, said, go follow that guy, do a lap on this track you've never driven, and run his door. Probably not, you know? And that's what's really hard about drifting. And people don't realize that this event, I mean, it was like as close to off the trailer as it gets, which me and Ben have wanted to do like an off the trailer drift comp for a while. Like drag racing, like literally draw chips, no practice, no one knows the layout, you just get there, draw chips, battle. I think that'd be pretty cool. But we didn't have any tandem practice. And that's what's always tough with these events, because it's like you want to practice for qualifying. So, and like that's kind of what everyone wants to do at first. And everyone kind of wants to drive like solo, because they're just practicing for qualifying. So it's like, if you just practice for qualifying, then we didn't get a tandem practice. So that's kind of what screwed me up, is I was kind of worried about qualifying and kind of figuring out the car with the nitrous that wasn't even on or wasn't even working, and the tires and all that stuff. And I didn't really get any tandem practice because I was just expecting to get tandem practice the next day, which we didn't end up getting because of the rain. But it's tough because everyone wants to do solo runs before qualifying. So if you wait until tandem practice the next day, nobody wants to lead. Nobody wants to lead. You'll go, you'll do your burnout, and like there'll be times where I've led 2 times in a row, and I'm like, okay, this run, no matter what, I'm doing a chase run. Like, practice is almost over. I haven't done a single chase run because now it's tandem practice. Qualifying's over. Everyone wants to practice their chase. You look, there's 6 people backed up in the follow line, no one in the lead line. And then I'll pull up behind because I'm like, I just did 2 leads in a row. And dude in front of me will be like flailing his arms like, come on, bro, go lead. And I'm like, dude, I just watched you do 3 chase runs in a row. I haven't done a single one, you know? Like, so that's tough. So I got to figure out a good strategy. I got to try to, like, because they kind of send a solo for the first lap or two. I got to just do all my chase practice on Friday and Saturday, say whatever for qualifying. And then, because everyone's going to want to chase on Saturday. Why am I going into this? Did I miss your answer to John Brown's $100 question? Yes, yeah, I said yes, and then I talked about the, email me, John, if you don't have my email, taylordrifts@gmail. How was Ben's car after the crash? Yeah, if you guys didn't see that, Ben crashed his car, which, I mean, he went in a little hot, but I think it was mostly not his fault. It's his car, something's going on in his car. It's like breaking up, like at idle, it'll just backfire. Like, it sounds like something from a movie, you know, like some old truck's pulling up a hill and it's like, ba-bow, ba-bow, like just randomly. He changed the crank and cam sensor, and that wasn't it. We just drove when I finally figured out the Miata nitrous and got it working, like yesterday. And it was bad, and we think that's what happened. It's like he threw it in, got on the throttle, and it just broke up, and then, you know, that's what's scary too. Like, you know, with nitrous, for example, on a bank track, if you hook the car up to the point where, like, you're at the limit with the nitrous, if the nitrous doesn't work, now you don't have enough power. So that bank tracks are tough in that sense. It is a GM crank sensor. It's just a new problem that, like it just popped up. The car's been fine for 2 years with no maintenance. You said scrub tire many times. Scrub tires are used tires that are still, like, in good condition. Like a tire that, you know, because, like, I'll have scrubs myself, right? So, like, let's say I go do a qualifying run, and then the tire's got, like, a lap or 2 left, but not enough for, like, a battle. Or let's say I run a battle on a new set of tires, and they're around half done. You could probably run them for another battle, but you want to throw on a fresh set anyway, just to not risk running out of tire on the last lap of the battle. And then you end up with scrubs. They just used. Scrub just needs used. But that's mostly what we're going to run. The foam is going to help with the audio on videos. Well, it's hard foam, so I think that's going to be echoey, which, one of those things. But I'm excited. It's tough because I'm, like, doing so many exciting things, you know, for me at once. Like, building this crazy, insane car that's, like, way crazier than anything I ever imagined building for myself. And at the same time, building my dream shop. So it's, like, it's hard because you're like, I should have spread them out, you know? Like, it's like drinking all your soda in one day, or it's just spreading them out. I can't use the actual analogy I want to use. But it's, yeah, it's tough. And it's like, you know, I'll get super excited about one and be so focused on the one, and then, like, I got to do the other, and I'm excited to have the shop done. It's going to be, I haven't really even daydreamed about it. Like, I haven't thought about what it's going to be like. Like, it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind right now. Like, head down on building this car, and hopefully we get the shop done and we finally get to work in there. And, like, then I'm going to be like, my brain's going to explode, because I'm going to be like, oh, I haven't, you know, I try not to get excited about things until they're like done. Done and dusted, deal sealed. So, you know, until we get the electrical permit signed off on, like, electrical inspection done, I'm not doing no victory dance. So hopefully once we're there, I mean, it's game on. But the thing that's tough is, I mean, we could probably move back in a day or two, but to, like, really go through and set it all up like I want, it's going to take time, and we are neck deep in finishing this car. So, you know, because I want to get the AC units here and get those in, and it's tough to balance the two, because this is more of a time priority, but less of a time priority. It's tough. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that. It's going to be tough, because, like, once the shop's ready and the electrical's done and it's spray foam, then I can, like, start doing everything else. Like, that's all I'm going to want to do. But, like, I got to get this car done at some point. You know, I wish I could just say, you know, whenever, get it done whenever, but it needs to get done. I'm good with deadlines because they push you, but, like, I just won't, I don't like rushing stuff, and I'm not going to rush it. Like I said, at this point, I'm not going to rush it. There's just no point. There's no point. Truss core for garage wall. I have to look into that. I tried to look up some different stuff for interior walling, but hopefully the 3-inch closed cell with paint will look good enough for me to just be like, okay, Like, it doesn't need to look great. It's a shop wall. It just needs to look okay and relatively even. You know, like I said, it's going to get banners and pegboard and shelves. Like, most of the wall's going to be covered anyway. So, yeah, okay. AC, we're doing AC in the shop. Like that, I figured it out, 36,000 BTU mini splits. One kind of by the lift on this side that I used to use, the lift that's there. We're going to have the other lift up, but the lift that's already there, kind of just in front of that, and then one in like the back corner facing the other way. And that should be enough, because I mean, this thing's a 12,000 BTU window unit. This garage is probably 500 square feet, so a third the size, and it's definitely not insulated. You know, it's just cinder block. So like, it is taller walls, but insulated 3 times the size, but with 6 times the AC. I'm hoping it'll be icy in there. I'm trying to make it. I want to be able to get it down to like 75 in there on a hot day. This thing starts to struggle in the heat. Like, if I turn it on early, like an hour before I come out here, you know, early in the morning, it'll stay cold for a while, but I think just not having any insulation on the outside walls, it just heats up during the day. But it's still like way better than being outside. The AC is life-changing, man, and it hasn't even got super hot yet. So, yeah, we're doing AC, and I'm so excited for the spray foam and the AC, like being able to keep it nice and cool in there and have the doors shut and it's quiet. It just makes doing this filming so much easier. So anyway, that being said, I'm going to end it. My voice, my throat's, is that going to be ready for clutch kickers? We talked about it. I'm trying, but I'm not going to rush it. If I don't get it done in time, I don't get it done in time. I'm not going to hack it together at the last minute and do stuff that I will for sure have to redo, because it's just pointless. Like, the Miata will do totally fine, especially the next round. Insulate your garage door. Yeah, it has stuff on it, but I mean, I'm not going to be in here that long, so it's hard to, like, it's a tough balance, like wanting to upgrade this space, but like, if the more I upgrade it, the less motivated I am to upgrade the other stuff. Hey, Taylor, I love the content. Any advice what I should ask when I take my shell to get tube front from fabricator of choice? Ooh, depends on what the car is and what you want, but just make sure you have them build mounting tabs for your headlights and all of that stuff, and make it, you know, have as much room to work on as possible. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me and sticking it out. You guys stuck it out. It was a lot. My throat, I need to figure out, there's got to be something I can do before I talk for this long. I'm a talker though. Like, I should be used to this. I practice this a lot. I talk all the time. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in another one. Hopefully I covered everything and I don't end this and go, dang, I forgot to say that. So.